Hello, everybody. Welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I am joined by Jim Donnan, the former Georgia Bulldog head coach, and the reason everybody's tuned in this week. And of course, Jed May. He's taking the place of Dayne Young this week because we need Jed to talk about recruiting. It's been a wild time on the recruiting trail. Crazy news happening last night, and ever since the portal opened, and I guess we are 8 days away from early signing day, which I'm just going to go ahead and call signing day because that's what it is now. It is the new signing day, and I'm going to call the normal signing day late signing day because it's later in the period. And I know everyone wants to make the distinction, but there isn't one. And Georgia's hoping to get their entire class in next Wednesday, but it looks like they may be down one quarterback Dylan Raiola, the five-star quarterback, the number 2 player in the nation, the number 1 quarterback in the nation in the rivals rankings. Taking a trip out to Nebraska this week, so we'll talk about that. But, Coach, let me get your thoughts first and foremost.
On Raiola?
Yes, sir. Let's start there, and then we'll work our way backwards.
One of the things that everybody needs to understand from my perspective as a coach and as a father is every family has its own reasons for doing things, and we've got our own feelings about our schools, and it's a tough decision to make as far as the future, particularly with what's all out there, and it's just different than it used to be, and it's a changing society. And I'm glad that you had the foresight to get Jed on there because he can maybe give us a little bit of idea about what some of these other prospects think about this kind of change of heart. But the thing that really bothers me is that, they say Nebraska's home. It's been home for a long time for them, and they've had a chance to look at it for a long time. And then all of a sudden they're going to, he's supposed to be enrolling here on Saturday or Sunday, and he's going to go out there for a visit. So more than likely, though, what's happened is some agent or agencies got involved and talked about what the long range ramifications are. I mean, we can look at a lot of different reasons why, but I'm not going to sit here and bash the family or the kid because they're going to do what's best for them. But I do want to stand up for my guy Kirby Smart because he's my guy, and he's got a program here, and he's going to do what's best for the program. He's going to always do that. I know when he first started out here, he says, "Hey, I got 3 kids and a wife, and I'm going to do what's best for them every time." And I never will forget it because if he doesn't, then he's not going to be the coach here, and they're not going to have a job and somebody to take care of him. And you look at his track record, he's made a lot of good decisions here on personnel. And you got to look at how it affects everybody else and how it affects the overall team as the structure. These figures that are out there, I can tell you, are unbelievably astronomically bad. I just don't. I know for a fact, which I can tell our dog nation, dog vent, dog shit, whatever it is, I can tell you right off the bat. I've been trying to help. I haven't helped on anybody in particular, but I know the market out there, and I know what's going on with these other schools, with everybody else. And I don't know individually what's going on, but these guys are saying they're getting $2 and $3 million coming in. I just don't see it. Now, maybe a transfer portal guy might, and somebody's really desperate. But some of the things that are coming up, though, these guys have individual coaches that they want to be involved and continue to train them. They got grandparents, they got parents, they got people wanting to come to games and come from different places. They're worried about all these issues that kids used to just worry about. Hey, where am I going to live and where do I eat? Now they got all these other things. And, I don't know what all the family's asking for, and I don't want to get into that. But I do. I've delved into it for a second. But what I want to say is we're going to have a good football team here, regardless of what happens with this guy. But the normal reaction is certainly, which it should be, when you lose a guy this magnitude this late, you're trying to figure out why. And certainly that's where you two experts can probably do more than me. But I do feel like I can say that if it's a money issue, any money that he might want, we could certainly come up with. But I don't know that we're going to do anything to mess up our structure. I just don't see us doing that. I was glad to see, on another note yesterday, our other recruit quarterback signed his, what do you call it, the tender to come to school here, and he's all set. So let's don't take away from that. Maybe later in the program we can talk about that. But Chad, right off the bat here, what do you feel like the impact with the other players would be they're coming here to Georgia? I'm sure you've talked to them. I'm sure they're kind of up in the air as far as what's going on, but nobody's going to sell the ranch and leave, are they?
Well, talking to some commits last night, it came out of left field for them, just like it pretty much came out of left field for us. And Dylan Raiola has been, and this is just how it is when you're a 5-star quarterback. You're the number one player in the country for most of his recruitment. You're the leader of the class. He's committing guys. He's been very vocal about recruiting KJ Bolden among other guys. So when you have a guy of that stature looking to potentially leave, it catches everybody off guard. It was brought up in the commits group chat last night once reports started coming out. That being said, I think two guys you might watch. Jaden Riddell, the tight end from Missouri, he and the Raiolas are close. I believe they visited Nebraska together while Dylan was uncommitted, so they're close. I wouldn't say I expect Riddell to commit, but that's one name that comes to mind as one who could be to watch. And then Nitro Tuggle, the receiver, he's been a guy who's been flirting with other schools a little bit. And then yesterday, when these reports came out, he tweeted, I don't know where it is now, some kind of GIF of I don't know, an incredulous guy GIF, I guess.
Confusion, yes.
Yeah, so that could be one, because again, like y'all have said, it's a week essentially till signing day, and this is when things get really crazy. So, and Nitro Tuggle is already taking an official visit to LSU this weekend, even before any of this came out. So, if you're LSU, this is a huge chance for you to say, hey, I wouldn't say quarterback instability, but your 5-star quarterback's leaving. LSU just produced a guy in Malik Neighbors who maybe should have won the Bolitnikoff Award. We have a great history of receivers. Why not come here instead of Georgia, a school that has one 1,000-yard receiver in school history? So those would be the two I would mention. Again, I would say neither are on flip watch right now necessarily. I've reached out to Jaden Riddell's mom to see if she has any comment. But it's those would be the two I would think. But again, like you said, Coach, I don't think anybody is saying, "Oh, Raiola's gone, I'm out," because and again, he recruited a lot of guys. He certainly helped build the class, but I don't know that there's anybody in this class who came to Georgia because of Dylan Raiola, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think it's a one-to-one correlation with anybody. When he committed, people thought, hey, could Georgia get Jeremiah Smith? Could they get Mike Matthews? Ryan Wingo for a while, and all those guys are now committed elsewhere. So I don't think anybody in the class is leaving because Raiola is gone. If I had to pick two guys just to keep an eye on, it would probably be Riddell and Nitro Tuggle.
I need to ask y'all a question here about 12/10 on December the 12th. Do you think Nebraska could go to a bowl game next year?
That's it. I don't know what their schedule was.
7 years they haven't.
Here's the question. And the funny thing is, because a lot of the kind of speculation about why Raiola might go to Nebraska is, hey, Georgia could have Carson Beck coming back. He obviously would be the starter next year. Nebraska is hosting Kyle McCord, the Ohio State quarterback, I believe also this weekend, or either just hosted him this last weekend. So
he's here. He's there today. He got there. I saw online where this guy saw him on the plane from Chicago.
Okay.
That's our Greg Smith, who works for Rivals.
Yeah. So if
that part there, I think the kid believes in he can play regardless. But that's a good, really good intro you made on about the other players, because I don't have the, I read what you say, and I want to tell you do a great job talking to these kids. But it's just a very up in the air. Sometimes people seem to think, somebody might not, but our situation's good here, though. Particularly if Beck, which I think, based on everything that I've heard, is going to stay, because I don't think Vandergrift would have left quite that quickly. I just feel like Beck has a lot to gain staying here. But I also talked to Daniel Jeremiah, a couple other guys, and they said, hey, this guy's stock is rising. I mean, when you think about it, regardless of just the fact he's played for a year, he's practiced against some pro players for 4 years, day in and day out. He's had to throw one-on-one against really good corners. He's had to throw against elite linebackers, against pass rush that's really in his face daily, that they got all that tape on him. They can look at that and see. And he's got a tremendous arm. And the thing that'll be overpowering about Carson is his football IQ, because he's been trained for a long time. And then he's under some really good quarterback coaches in Munkin and Bobo, who really know the game. So he's going to be ahead of the curve compared to, and I think Jaden Daniels certainly a good quarterback and all, but he's running all these RPOs and all that. They're not reading the coverages. And Bo Nick's the same thing, but certainly Caleb Williams and Drake May ran a little different system. But I got to rate Carson right up there in between 3 and 4 on these quarterbacks. But hopefully he stays around here.
Well, Coach, I want to jump in on that real quick. To me, it's huge news that you might be losing the number 1 rated quarterback in our rankings. And, of course, other people have him at different places. That's fine. I like our rankings, and I'll stick with them. But I think a lot of people were overlooking Ryan Puglisi. And before before this all went down, I was on – somebody asked me about him on their message board. And I said, look, I think he's a better quarterback. That's not to say that, he would start or that he would get the job over Raiola. I don't know. As I'm saying at this point in their development, when I watch, and we had exclusive video highlights of like his first 5 games. We're gonna get the last 2 coming sent to us here in a bit, and we'll have those up on the same YouTube channel and Facebook page, so you'll be able to watch Puglisi's highlights. He's really talented. So I mean, we're talking about kids who they got to come in behind Gunnar Stockton, who's pretty stinking good. And if Carson Beck comes back, that is and again, we mentioned last week, all signs point to him returning. You're getting an NFL-ready caliber quarterback to come back to face that tough schedule next year. We look at those middle 4 games. You have the first 3, and then you have the bye week, and then you're at Texas, at Alabama, Auburn sandwiched in there. That is a tough road. Those middle 4 are going to be tough. I don't like the idea of, and don't get me wrong, I'm a Gunnar Stockton fan, but I don't like the idea of Gunnar Stockton being the starter there, or Dylan Raiola, or Ryan Puglisi. I'd feel a lot better if Carson Beck's there. To me, that's the bigger news. If Carson comes out today or tomorrow or sometime this week and says, yeah, let's run it back again, I think that the Dog fans should be ecstatic, especially when you're replacing, a couple running backs, a tight end, maybe, multiple wide receivers, multiple offensive linemen. If you've got that quarterback, we see how important quarterback play is. Even to the playoff committee, they're like, oh, your quarterback's hurt. You can't go to the playoffs. It's a big deal. And I think the Georgia fans should be, you can worry about losing Raiola, but you got to be doubly excited to get Carson Beck back if that's what he does.
Yeah, I want to just ask one other thing there so I get the guy's name right. The guy from Raymore Peculiar, or wherever he is in Kansas or Missouri, what's his name?
Jaden Riddell. And actually I was gonna chime in. So I've seen people talking about his mom over here. So this morning Miss Riddell tweeted actually a picture of Ryan Puglisi signing his letter of intent yesterday, and says, I said it once, I'll say it again. Class of 24 is going to rock. #GoDogs. And then Mrs. Riddell actually just DM'd me back on Twitter and said, I have no comment on Dylan. I'm a huge Husker fan, born and raised, but I have already bought our tickets to get Jaden out to Athens on Friday. So seems like
he's on the board.
So it seems like the Riddells are locked in.
But I do know this one little. I was trying to get his name right that you were saying. You know who his roommate's going to be? Puglisi. So they must be fairly tight. So I had heard that they were tight from that standpoint. I was kind of shocked that you said that he liked. So I'm glad to hear that from his mother. I'm going to tell you, mothers aren't going to BS us, and I'm glad you got that capability. But again, another thing I wanted to ask Roddy from the standpoint of just talking to all the people that you talk to around the country, that you've got the Rivals Network and all that, don't you think these numbers are inflated? I mean, and you also have some of our boosters talking to you about how they can help and things. I mean, I just think that what I know, which might be limited, but I'd really be shocked that these guys are getting what they're saying. I really would.
They're not.
Okay.
And you're too kind, Coach. I know you. I've seen your phone. I know who you talk to. I'm jealous with green with jealousy.
You look at my phone when I go to the bathroom or something. What do you mean?
Hey, every time you leave during the watch along show, you get up. I know the code to unlock it. I go through and do screenshots and forward them to my phone. No, I've seen who you've talked to, and you talk to national powerhouse guys, especially during games when you're texting with Kirk Herbstreit while he's calling a game. It just blows my damn mind. But the numbers that were thrown out, and I'm blaming Matt Rule for this. So speaking of Nebraska, he's like, well, a quarterback on the transfer market is worth $1 to $2 million. I'm like, who the hell is paying that? I speak to money people. You know him. One of them, put us up in a suite, and I know his friends, and we talk to money people. Nobody at Georgia is paying a kid $1 million or $2.5, $3 million. And it's not happening at other schools in other places. So it's really easy for someone to throw a number out there saying, KJ Bolden is going to go to FSU for $2 million, and Auburn's going to drop $4 million on him. That crap is not happening. Now, there are large amounts of money. There are pretty good NIL deals, but you got to remember somebody's behind that, and they're not going to drop call up UGA, call up Nebraska, call up Florida State, and say, hey, I'm willing to give you $1 million for this high school kid to come here. But again, that's usually for like 1 year or something like that. They'll give considerable, but the numbers are way inflated, and some person on the internet goes out and throws a number, and then everyone just accepts it as fact because it's the first, I don't even call it hard evidence, it's the first quantification of the deal. So some of the numbers are being thrown around.
Here's what's happening on the money market, though, that I do feel like is pretty salient, is the fact that you see all these quarterbacks entering the portal, and most of the ones, for the most part, aren't going to be draftable quarterbacks. There are going to be some, but here's a chance for them to sell their wares and get some pretty good money that's going to set them up for the rest of their life, even if they don't get drafted. You know what I'm saying? Compared to that, because people need quarterbacks. The market's out there. So we're talking about that kind of money is being spent to, for a coach to save his job, so to speak. Or, all of a sudden, Riley Leonard this morning from Duke goes to Notre Dame. He's a second straight ACC quarterback that's gone out there. Hartman last year from Wake Forest. Notre Dame certainly got the resources. I know Duke's got money and all, but they spend it on basketball. It's just a situation here where the portal guys, to me, have more potential and are more established, and you're going to take that leap of faith with the money more than on a high school kid. But at the same time, it's definitely out there for the high school kids too. And the first thing I thought about when I saw Raiola going to Nebraska, Warren Buffett. I mean, what's his association with the program? I mean, can you imagine that tightwad giving him any money? I don't know. He's got his first grade lunch money, but he's really smart investor. But I probably shouldn't have said that, but I did. I said, I think about Phil Knight, what he's doing for Oregon. I mean, if Warren Buffett wanted to help Nebraska, he certainly could do it.
And you make a good point. And I brought up Rules, Coach Rule, when he was talking about these portal quarterbacks being worth $1 million or $2 million on the open market. Maybe they are, but that's not transferring to a high school kid. To your point, I think Georgia's philosophy is to put money, the NIL money, the better deals towards like a Cedric Van Pran coming back for his senior year, trying to get Carson Beck to stay. Again, Carson Beck is an NFL draftable quarterback. You just said it. Quarterbacks are in high demand. They're in absolute demand at the NFL. If Carson Beck decides to go pro, he's going to get drafted. He's going to get drafted high. You've talked to scouts. I've talked to scouts. They love the kid. He's needed. There are some journeyman quarterbacks in the NFL ranks who you've never heard of who are starting games. Carson Beck can play in the NFL. If he comes back, that's huge. But just because, let's say Carson were to go into the portal and you got a coach trying to save his job, he's getting $11 million. He reaches out to everybody, says, we need to get Carson back for $1 million. We need to get him for $2 million. I need to save my job. We need to save the program. It could happen. I could see that. But no one's going to give a kid who played, in high school and $1 million to come to their school right now. It's just now eventually it might get there, but you got to remember it's year 3. What is it, 2 or 3 of the whole NIL thing, Judd? I mean, how many seasons has been legal?
This is the 3rd year here, and next year will be the 4th.
3rd year. A lot of people who got excited about it and put in money the first time, they're like, look, you guys went 6-7 last year. Why the hell am I going to give you another, $500,000? So you can only go to these people so many times. And if they don't see that return on investment, they're just not going to keep doing it. So I'm with you, Coach. I think
here's one other thing that I want to, some of these people that are jumping on the family about.
Oh, that's stupid. Don't do that.
His dad is a good guy, played pro football. I mean, I've met him, mom, but the fact that they've changed so many times, 3 different high schools, this will be his 3rd commitment. He committed originally to Ohio State, then us, and now if he goes there, that is a little bit of a red flag in a lot of ways, just because who's influencing it. I mean, what they're listening to a lot of people maybe, but I really thought they were sold on what Mike Bobo was doing in the program, but there's got to be some other factors, because they couldn't have talked like they did about, and you could maybe mention that, Jed, some of the things that they said about how fired up they were about our system and all that. Didn't they say that?
Yeah. I mean, they said they love what they've seen this year. I mean, Raiola was at, I think, all but one home game, maybe. I mean, he was just a constant presence. He saw what he was doing up close. He's talking with the coaches all the time. Kirby Smart went to his high school game when they played, I want to say, Tequila on Georgia's bye week. So, I mean, there was nothing to indicate, and the thing is, in hindsight now, there was at one point during the season, I believe, he went out to Nebraska for a visit. And now, obviously, his uncle's on staff. Georgia was, I think that might have been the weekend of the Florida game, or Georgia was on the road. So at the time, it's not a big deal. You go out there, hang out with family, whatever. In hindsight, you wonder what kind of seeds might have been planted then. But yeah, I mean, again, even that aside, there's been nothing to indicate that Raiola was wavering. I mean, again, his family obviously moved across the country and is at a school that's, I mean, one of the big reasons they moved to, whether it was Buford, Parkview, like any of these other schools that were mentioned, was so they could be Georgia recruiters, right? So they could be at every Georgia home game. So they could be there for those official visit weekends in June and July. And that is kind of a big reason they're in Georgia to begin with. So now this Nebraska thing out of left field is a shock. It's a bombshell. It's any other, superlative you want to use, because they've just been so effusive in their praise of Mike Bobo, Kirby Smart, Todd Monken when Monken was still here. When we take a break for this first commercial, I want you to look up Mac Rule's career record, not including the Panthers. I know he's a head coach at Temple and head coach at Baylor, and now at Nebraska. What his career record is. He's certainly good on his feet and very articulate, but I don't think he has much over a 500 record. Maybe he does. We'll see. But so, Roddy, you going to tell us?
I want to mention our friends real quick at Athens Ford. They have almost 800 vehicles on the lot. If you go out there, you can see them all from the comfort of your house. You can see them all on your phone. If you go to athensford.com, check it out. You can check out their Make the Holidays Bright event. That's a sales event they have. They've got the Broncos that you can scroll through. You can schedule service. You can have them come out and look at your vehicle. You can get a trade-in value on your car. You can go through all their used inventory. And as I always tell people, and folks make fun of me on the DawgVent about this, when we talk about Athens Ford, we always hammer home one thing. If you buy a new or a pre-owned vehicle out there, all the new ones, of course, and the vast majority of their pre-owns will have a lifetime powertrain warranty on it. That's why you don't go to any of the other Ford dealerships. Now, I know you're in Atlanta. You're like, hey, look, there's like 5 of them within, a 20-minute drive of me. come to Athens. Come up on a game weekend. Come watch the Bulldogs play. Come to the basketball game this Saturday where we're having the event together, and swing by Athens Ford and grab one of those when you get the chance. Also, while you're in town, before you go to the basketball game, swing by our friends at Academia Brewing Company. They have some great beers out there. They have their sour syllabuses, 1 through 4. Definitely like them. This is the time of year to try them. If you like sour beers, this is the place. Now, Coach and I went out there and had lunch one day recently. I got to go to the mat and tell you how great the barbecue sandwich I had out there was. I love the pulled pork barbecue, and they actually seared it on the grill before they put it on the sandwich on a great roll. Had a side salad with it. It was fantastic. So I don't know if Coach liked his meal, but I loved mine, and I was quite ecstatic about it. So anyway, I know he did like it. He enjoyed it. So I
want to ask before we get too far here, because my memory's not good. But while we got Jed on here, I know he's over there at the championship games and doing a good job of covering that. And I actually texted him a couple of times during the game and asked him where we were going to play that kid from Swainsboro. I mean, Mr. All-American. But over the weekend, we had a couple of D linemen in here for one for official visit, one for unofficial visit, the one from Dublin, and then the kid from South Carolina. How's that looking on those D linemen for us?
So Nasir Johnson is the high school guy you're referring to, and his, to back up a little bit, his recruitment was, myself and some other reporters went to one of his games, actually against Swainsboro, and he was like, yeah, I'm visiting Georgia this coming up weekend. I got an official visit to Florida State in December, and then I'll sign in February. And then a week later, he visits Athens and commits. So it wasn't a shock necessarily that he chose Georgia, but the timing of it was kind of a surprise. So now it's December. We're hearing that Florida State visit might still be happening. I guess it would have to be this weekend before early signing day. So it's going to be interesting to see if he ends up making that visit. But you don't see too many kids commit to a school and then flip less than a month later. So I feel like Georgia's still in pretty good shape with Nasir Johnson. And then Xavier McLeod is a guy who Georgia recruited out of high school, chose South Carolina, Shane Beamer of the Gamecocks, played in 4 games this year, and then left the team. And it's kind of like, it's I don't know the story. I obviously don't cover South Carolina. It's Shane Beamer had one of those cryptic, this is one of the best, this is best for the team kind of comments. He's very close with Jamal Jarrett, who was one of his player hosts this weekend. And he said, hey, Georgia can develop me and get me where I want to go. And it seems like in speaking with him, he sounded like a guy who has obviously spent a year in college and is now realizing, okay, now it's time to get a little serious about this whole development and getting to the next level thing. At least that's what I took from talking to him. Obviously, Georgia has a lot to sell in that department with guys that sent to the NFL, guys like Zion Lowe, Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse, who will all be departing after this year. So,
you think Brinson's going to leave?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of time opening, a lot of spots maybe opening up.
That's really good info. We only got a little while. You don't have to give too big a bio on these guys. How about? I don't want to cut you short because I want to make sure we get all. How about the 2 wide receivers that came in? I heard that we had a good visit with the kid from Vanderbilt and the one from USC. So I know our fans like to hear about that, and I understand some of these other programs are coming in there hard on Humphreys now, putting some big money on him.
Yeah, London Humphreys from Vanderbilt. You people watching the show will remember him from the I think it was a 49-yard touchdown he had against Georgia this year. And he as soon as he went in the portal, it was kind of speculated that Georgia might end up the place. He took the visit. Things went well. We told our Trent Smallwood, who's done a great job covering his part 2 of his recruitment, I guess, that Georgia, like I just said, with Xavier McLeod, can develop me, can get me to the next level. He was on the all-SEC freshman team, had averaged 20 yards a catch, had 460-some yards. So, yeah, Georgia's in a good spot with him. Michael Jackson, I think, is a little I don't want to say less likely because getting him on campus is bigger, but I think Humphreys is kind of the guy that the staff is looking to add at that portal spot. Now, could they add another guy? Sure. There's obviously a lot of time left in the portal, till it closes and whatever. But I think London Humphreys is the guy that Georgia fans should really keep an eye on. And by the way, Coach, I don't want this to go I don't want this to go. Your trivia question: Matt Rule's career record. He is 52-50 in 8 years.
All right,
28 and 23 at
Coach.
Temple, 19 and 20 at Baylor, and 5 and 7 at Nebraska.
I have a question for you, Coach. Which offensive line is worse, Nebraska or Buford's?
Well, I mean, that's I don't know. It's not real good. I mean, I know the kid from Georgia Tech's transferring now and going to Miami, supposedly the one that transferred the quarterback. But also on the recruiting end of it, because it's good for our fans to hear some of these different guys. We got to have some of the biggest beef in the history of the world coming in here in the O-line, don't we? And tell us about that. Just a real quick capsule about what we have. 6 guys coming in, 5 or 6 O-linemen.
Yeah, actually, I just had a story on this the other day. Georgia's class has 28 commits, 11 are on the line of scrimmage. So offensive line, you've got 6 guys coming in. They average 6'7" and 325 pounds. So yeah, a bunch of freak shows up there. And then defensive line, you've got Nnamdi Ogboko is the guy in the middle. Jordan Thomas, Nasir Johnson is kind of like the 3-tech types. And then you've got Joseph Jonah, Janye, and Justin Green is more the defensive end type. So, yeah, I mean, and listen, we saw it in the SEC championship game. Georgia's offensive line didn't have its greatest day running the ball. Defensive line got pushed around a little bit. Obviously, you don't bring in a bunch of freshmen and expect them to be year one fixes in the SEC, but those 2 areas are definitely being addressed in the recruiting class and like you said, Coach, in the transfer portal as well with Xavier McLeod and some of the other guys are looking at.
And when you look at the defensive linebackers we got coming in and add Robinson, who's elite corner, then those satisfy some of our needs too. Tell us a little bit about Ellis Robinson, the fact that he is such an elite guy to be coming in here at a position of need for us at corner.
Yeah, Ellis Robinson's fantastic. Fran Brown guy, because he is originally from, I want to say New York, and spent most of his high school career in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, is now at IMG Academy. He knew Fran Brown going back to his time at Rutgers, so that was kind of the end of the door there. But he is and Trent has said this on the vault as well. He's one of the best pure corner prospects that Kirby Smart has brought in. He's got length, he's got speed, he's got athleticism. He's really got it all. So, and you mentioned Coach DeMello Jones yesterday from Swainsboro. That's probably as good of a corner duo as you're going to find in the country because DeMello Jones
tell people what he did yesterday.
Is amazing. So,
folks, if you're just tuning in, I'm going to interrupt Jed here real quick. Jed is actually at Mercedes-Benz Stadium right now. He covered 2 games yesterday. He's going to cover 3 more today and 3 more tomorrow. He's on location, so we had him join us, and that's the sort of coverage you get at UGAsports.com, and you can get it right now for 50% off. Use the promo code, Portal 50. UGA Portal 50. But Jed, talk about what DeMello Jones did yesterday. Some people were talking about him in the comments section here, and I think, Coach, you were talking about being excited and roster management. Getting DeMello Jones as a bookend for Ellis Robinson. Just tell us what he did yesterday, Jed.
Before my head started spinning around with all the Raiola stuff in the second half of that game yesterday, DeMello Jones, he had a 59-yard touchdown reception on a screen. He had a 96-yard interception return for touchdown off of Georgia Tech quarterback commit Aaron Philo, who set the all-time state record for passing yards yesterday. He had a 4-yard rushing touchdown. He had, right before that pick six, he had a diving pass break up in the end zone to save a touchdown. I mean, I think Swainsboro lost, I'm trying to think, 46-32, something like that yesterday. Without DeMello Jones, I mean, no exaggeration, that game might have been 55-6. I mean, DeMello Jones is pretty much the only reason that game was close. And he plays quarterback, plays receiver, he plays mostly corner for Swainsboro, which is where he's likely to end up in Athens. I mean, the 2 best high school performances I've seen in a single game this year have both been DeMello Jones. So, and he is the, quote unquote undercard at corner compared with Ellis Robinson. So that's a pretty strong duo for sure.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have a tendency to get too enamored about guys that are coming in and instead of some of the guys in our program. And we definitely got some good young defensive players, both those Harris kids at corner, 2 kids from Charlotte that really got good speed. They got to come along a little bit. But certainly that's one thing you always got to remember about Kirby and Muschamp. Certainly, Fran Brown helped us out by having some inroads in those areas. But, these guys come here, defensive backs, because of Kirby Smart. I mean, look at his history going all the way back to even to when he was playing here with Champ Bailey. I mean, he's been around, and he knows, just for our fan standpoint, when pro scouts come in here, they like to watch our guys practice because they know they're going to be trained in the techniques that they're going to need to play in professional football without having to go and teach them that. They know that. And they got tremendous confidence in Kirby and the fact that he knows the pro schemes. They know we run a lot of match coverages. We run a lot of different disguise coverages. And it just really helps them. And particularly the underneath guys, linebackers. You look at some of these linebackers that are playing on the elite level, like Roquan's playing, we saw last night, the kid at Green Bay. I mean, there's just plenty of guys out there, but there's so much good news that sometimes you get a bad report here, which is bad. I mean, hey, the guy's not going to come here, but I've lost some good ones at the last second before, and that happens. But maybe he'll change his mind again. He'll go out there and freeze his ass off and realize that that's just the way it is. I mean, you talk about a place. You know how to get from Lincoln to Omaha?
How do you get from Lincoln to Omaha, Coach?
You go to the first tree and take a left. I mean, there's no trees out there. There's nothing. I mean, it's just it's desolate now. I'm telling you.
High of 44, low of 26 in Lincoln on Saturday.
One of the worst nights I've ever spent was the first night I went on the road recruiting at Missouri, and I had to go up to someplace in Nebraska, and I couldn't get out of my car to go inside a Holiday Inn. It was so cold. I was so afraid I was going to freeze, and it was only about 20 yards, but like a really bad wind chill. And I was trying to figure out if I could get the nerve up to get out of my car. I finally did, and I made it inside, but scary, scary moment for the old coach.
Yeah, you don't handle cold well. I've seen that firsthand.
Right.
you don't like it.
Right.
Hey, real quick, I do
we
want to
handled Nebraska well when I was at OU, though. Got after their ass pretty good now.
All right. Well, speaking of something,
you know what Tom Osborne said when he heard Barry Switzer was retiring, don't you?
No.
Yes, sir.
Folks, if you never get a chance to hear Coach talk about Nebraska or Oklahoma State, being the old Oklahoma guy that he is, there's some hatreds that just won't die, and Coach has.
I got a lot more respect for Nebraska than I do.
I know you do. You do. That's true. You've been very, very complimentary of them, but it's. Again, they're trying to be relevant, and they're going to break the bank to be so. But you don't have to break the bank if you want to join the Your Pie Rewards Club over there. Just download the Your Pie app. Today's Tuesday. If you order pizzas or you order salads or you order breadsticks or gelato or the custom pastas, anything that you order today for delivery, pickup, or eat in, I usually say, look, I'm going to swing by and pick it up. And but if you do it today, you'll get double points. Those points add up super fast. It's not like, something I see a club card for some sandwich place. You have to order 10 sandwiches before you get a small one for free. Now, if you start ordering on the Your Pie app, especially on Tuesdays, you can order to pick up later in the week, so you don't have to get it today. Like, let's say it's Taco Tuesday and you don't want pizzas today, but you like pizza tomorrow. Go ahead and order today. Tell them the time you're going to pick up tomorrow, Wednesday, through Saturday or whatever, and get the double points. And then all of a sudden you'll see, hey, you've been notified. You get a free drink. You get free breadsticks. You get a free 14-inch pizza. We had pizza the other day, one of the huge ones, and got it for free. So do the Your Pie app. You'll be absolutely happy that you did so. Also want to mention our friends at Dead Soxy. They have a deal going on right now. It is the 12th of December. You need to be thinking about your, what Christmas gifts you're going to get. You want to go ahead and get those ordered. The Amazon woman, whoever, was dropping off a ton of stuff yesterday at our house. My wife went a little crazy, went a little overboard, just boxes upon boxes upon boxes. Of course, she does the whole shoebox things, the charity stuff. So we had a lot of stuff delivered, But if you want some good stuff delivered to your house that you don't have to rewrap, that you don't have to repackage, one of my gifts that I'm going to be getting this year showed up and it was just the box itself. So I know exactly what's in it and I'm excited, but it ruined the surprise. You can get something from Dead Soxy and they have a deal going on right now. Use promo code Holiday Pro or use promo code UGASports and you get 33% off anything site wide. Now's the time to jump on there. It's going to come in a fantastic package that you can turn around and just hand to someone and they'll be very excited to get the Dead Soxy gifts. So take care of them when you get the chance.
That's awesome. Those are great socks too. About that lady had those new hose and said she was late because she had on a pair of hose guaranteed not to run. But
that was bad.
But anyhow, Jed, I just got to ask you about from a standpoint running back wise. There's a lot out there about maybe Georgia in the market for a guy in the portal like ETN from Florida. What are you hearing on that?
Yeah, well, that's one where even go back to his recruiting. Like I remember when he was being recruited, and Georgia had Branson Robinson, and they had at the time Jordan James recruited. So doesn't look like there's any room. And Trevor Etienne had Georgia in his top fives, top whatevers for the longest time. So clearly he liked Georgia a lot even back then. And obviously, Del McGee's still there. So that relationship is strong. Yeah, I mean, Georgia's got a shot. He's obviously a very highly coveted guy. Radi, you put out, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, that Georgia is, it's kind of been a little roller coaster in terms of how Georgia's looking, but Georgia is right in the thick of it. You expect LSU to be involved, being from Louisiana. You expect Clemson to be involved. Or actually, you might not expect Clemson to be involved because Dabo feels a certain kind of way about the portal. But
his brother did play there, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, Georgia's right in the thick of it. There's going to be probably a NIL asking price, I would assume, especially with a running back. That's a position that doesn't have a huge shelf life, as we all know. So, but yeah, I mean, Georgia's right in the thick of it. Now, the question is, you've got 3 running backs committed. How does that affect them? Do you wait until they're all signed until you progress? Like, there's a lot of variables there because, again, with signing day a week away, your signing day's in a week. The portal goes until January 10th or whatever, so January 2nd. So there's a window there.
The thing about that though, there's a lot of credibility with Del McGee and Coach Smart. I don't think that they would BS these.
You're probably right.
I really think that they tell them, look, we need a back. We had a guy who we were really counting on that hurt his foot, had major surgery. Hopefully Robinson's going to be able to go, but we're losing 2 guys. And we have another guy that had ACL, Paul. So we need a little experience here. And the other thing that you can point out, or I'll point out, we only got one of these guys that qualify to come in the spring. Bowen's the guy we flipped from Florida is going to be here, but Nate Frazier and the kid from over in Atlanta are not going to be able to get here till the summer. So you got an established back who, for some reason, Billy Napier took advantage of the fact that he wanted to rest him a lot. He didn't play him all the time. I couldn't figure that one out. He played, he was almost a number 2 back for Florida. But in the games that they won, he was tremendous. You look at him against Tennessee, and of course there's not many that they won. They only won 5. But this guy is a big physical back that can catch the ball and do a lot of things, and is a proven entity in our league. So you got to look at him and see if you can help your team. And I think Kirby and Dell are going to look at this kid. We don't know. All we can go by is what people like Jed and Roddy tell us. But I would be on him like a piranha.
And another thing I wonder is, Coach, you mentioned the injury issues that Georgia's got in the backfield right now. There's another portal window after spring practice. So do you go through spring practice kind of with what you have? And then you're, I guess, 3-4 months down the road from now, you have a better idea of how Andrew Paul is looking, how Branson Robinson is looking. Do you look at who's in the portal?
Who's going to be in there then?
Exactly. That's what you like. ETN, I'm sure, will be gone. Jaquavius Marks from Mississippi State is in the portal. He'll be gone. So that's kind of I don't want to say a gamble, but do you think, okay, we'll ride it out and we'll we'll look for guys after spring.
I don't think we can afford to. Several reasons. You lose your tight end. You lose several offensive linemen. You need to have some identity to take some pressure off Carson, just from the standpoint you just can't ride his back and hope him to, is our protection going to be as good all of a sudden? What's going to happen, for instance, to some of these linemen if all of a sudden Tate Ratledge decides to come back? Mm-hmm. Is a guy like Fairchild going to stick around and maybe know, hey, I got to beat out Micah Morris and Ratledge? I mean, there's a lot in this for everybody. So I know Lasky's on the move here, but we've got some good young linemen. But I think a back would be very, very good to give experience back, to give Carson a little bit more, take a little heat off him as far as not everything on his shoulders there. Of course, that being said, if Robinson is healthy, I feel sorry for some of these defensive backs that are going to have to tackle his ass.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I mean, that guy is a human wrecking ball now. You saw him in the championship game. Again, he scored two. I mean, he's hard to tackle. Our defensive backs, I mean, they got to go up and hit him on, even in thud, it's, which is you don't put him on the ground. Nobody wants to thud that guy. I mean, he's just – and even if you're a tough-ass defensive player, you don't want to hit the guy. I mean, why do you want to? Because you're taking your life in your own hands every time you hit that guy.
I mean, I've had family members like that aren't from around here text me pictures of Branson Robinson and say, does this guy really play for Georgia? Or is this like a Photoshop? And
looks like no, that's him. Right? He's a body.
Yeah. I mean, I shook his – I was at his commitment. I shook his hand, and I was in a cast for like 3 weeks because he's built – he's chiseled out of granite, this dude. I mean, it's
everybody used to talk
amazing.
About can dogs talk and all that stuff. I bet those weights in there when he gets in there, it's like, holy smoke, here comes Branson Robinson getting ready to crush these weights.
Like we see all these videos of Nick Chubb like going back to Cedartown and squatting like 4,000 pounds. Like I fully expect to see Branson Robinson doing the same thing at I forget the name of his high school in Mississippi, but fully expect to see him doing the same thing in 10 years when he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. I mean, he's got all the tools and the physical the traits that you could possibly ask for.
That wouldn't shock me at all. Hey, Coach, let's do some rapid fire on the questions that we got from the UGASports.
That's good. But, hey, a really good job by Jed here. I mean, might have to. I mean, I know you're not going to give anybody any love. That's not your style. So, but Jed, I appreciate what you've brought to the show today. I mean, I know our fans do too.
Hey, Jed, we're going to let you go. We know that you got to start that game at 1 o'clock here, so we're going to let you duck out.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to hit Chick-fil-A before the game. So, I'll talk to you guys later.
What are you in you got free food in the press box there, or what is the
no, sir. No, sir. No free food. The fountain drink machine is on, so we got that. But ice cream machine, unfortunately, is turned off. There's water in the fountain drink machine, I guess. So we're gonna. I only had Chick-fil-A twice yesterday, so I got to get it at least once today. So
Archer Blank needs to open that baby up to you guys, but I do think it's great that they're playing the games in the dome again and not having to worry about the weather. I thought that's great for those kids. I'm glad they're getting to play in it. So
great for kids, great for reporters who don't want to stand in the rain, for sure.
Yeah, right. Jed has covered some nasty games there. All right, Jed, we'll talk to you later. Great job.
See you later.
Yeah, Jed has covered some very foul weather championship games, and I'm glad the kids are inside too. All right, Coach, first question's from Chris Landino. Says, while it doesn't seem to be extremely common players to have played in bowl games while being also in the portal, is it different team by team? I believe Robert Beal did it in the past. Do you expect any of the portal entries to stick around for the bowl games? So, basically, Georgia's got 13, 14 players in the transfer portal. Do they go to bowl practice?
From my standpoint, the only one that I think that'll probably do it would be Zirkle. He really does help our team kicking off. I mean, it's a chance for him to showcase his ability. They can watch him warm up, kicking field goals and all that. He's got a mind of his own about going to school in Texas, and he's not really visiting a lot of places. I would say Zirkle will be the only one, from my perspective, that's going to play in the bowl game.
Okay. Next question is from Bulldog Ice. He says, "Can you give us an early preview of our team next year? Areas of strength and areas of where you may have concerns. I really enjoy your knowledge and the stories you share with us."
Yeah, I think right off the bat, offensive tackle, because of who you lose there in Mims and Truss, two really good guys that are going to go pro. Mims probably a little bit higher than Truss, but how's that going to shake out? I feel good about our guards. I feel good about Freeling, who got some work, and certainly Ernest Green's one of the best young players in the country. So offensive tackle, I feel good inside. Even though we lose Van Pran, we got center guards that are going to be okay. Then we talked about running back. These young backs are going to have to really do well in the summer to help us, and I think that'll be, if we get that would be a situation. Of course, tight end, we're good shape with Delp, but Lucky's got to come along. Sperling, these two young freshmen are going to help us too. They got good ability. Wide receiver, if we get one of these wide receivers to play Z for McConkey, the outside position, I think that'll help us. I really like Lovett coming back, and certainly we got some younger guys. We saw Evans in the bowl game, and Arian Smith, we don't know what he's going to do, but maybe he'll have one more year and they'll get the ball to him. And then defensively, we talked about corner, who's going to step up there. Safety, if Bullard comes back, we'll be strong with Bullard and Malachi, and then we'll have Ja'Cory Thomas and some of those other guys back there. That David is a really good player back there, and then linebacker is really talented, but it'll be I don't know if Munden's going to come back or not. I think people need to realize he had a severe injury and played with it. Could have had something done to it, but he didn't. I don't know if he's going to go pro or not. But defensive line, I mentioned Brinson coming back would help. We got some good D-line guys coming back. Punter, all of a sudden, is going to be back. Thorson got another year. I think Goodring can certainly, Peyton can kick off, and he showed he can do a good job as a kicker. We got to find a punt returner. I think Lovett can do that. Evans showed in the game. What else do we need?
I think Humphreys can return punts, can he?
Yeah, Humphreys. Of course, I'm counting on Humphreys and Everett being the corners, but we're talking about.
I was talking about the Vanderbilt wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can get him in there too.
If they get him, maybe he can return a punt or two. I'd sell it to him. Hey, we got a bunch of jobs for you, man. Come on.
But that's off the cuff here without any notes about all I can remember.
Well, that's 10 times better than I would ever do, and even if I had my notes in front of me. Boost Assendam, which is kind of
what is it?
Boost Assendam, which if you look at it, it sounds like it's Norwegian or something like that. It's really I've met this guy. It basically busting ass on a dam, and I'm sure there's a story there. He's got to tell it to us one day. He says, "Hey, Coach, doesn't all the transfer portal, NIL, and carousel chatter boil down to good evaluation, roster management, and recruiting? Hasn't our program, staff, analysts, and coaches been excelling in all these facets of talent acquisition?" So basically, does this all come down to talent evaluation and roster management, and has Georgia been better than most at that? Nope. I think we kind of lost him there. Well, I will go ahead and answer that question for you real quick. Yes, it does. It's when we were doing our live show yesterday, and there was all the worry about losing Dylan Raiola. And again, I said this is not a testament to my feelings towards Kirby Smart. He knows who I am, but we're not friends. We don't hang out. We're not buddies. I'm not here to defend him. I'm not here to criticize him. I'm just here to be an objective reporter. And I will say, against everybody in the nation, give me a choice of any coach, any staff, I'm going to go with Kirby Smart. I was asked what makes Kirby Smart special. One of my buddies was doing some social video stuff, and he said, "Hey, I'm kind of looking for a condensed version of what makes Georgia good. Why have they won 2 titles?" And I said it boils down to roster management. When you've got guys going into the portal, you're pulling guys out of the portal. You've got guys on your team now who want more money. They're like, hey, I got a good NIL deal, but I'd like to get more NIL deals, and you got to come up with those deals and help them get them. You know, the Clutch City Collective has to do that. There's a lot going on there. Then you have guys that want to transfer in. You know, are you picking the right guys? Right now you've got the number one signing class in the nation. You've done that multiple times. Now you might lose that number one ranking with Dylan Raiola transferring or flipping if he does. But even then, you'll still be like 2 or 3. You're still going to be at the upper echelon. So what has made Georgia different? Why they've been so effective, Boost, is because talent evaluation. Now, here's the thing. What a lot of schools are doing is watching your talent evaluation, then poaching your players. They're like, who are you looking at? Oh, that kid, Nikar. No, not a lot of people are on him. But, oh, man, yeah, you identified him early. You guys have been after him. He's committed to you. Well, let's throw the bank at him. And that's not to pick on Nikar. That's just to point out that every other school recognizes the talent evaluation that Alabama does and that Georgia does. And they go after those kids. And they won't be able to get all of them. That's why you have the number one class. But they will be able to pick off some of them when they go all in with an NIL deal to grab a kid or two. So, all right. Let me the last couple questions here. There's a general question from Blocker 57. What is life like today inside the famous commit group chat? That was one of the questions that we asked Jed right at the beginning. We're like, what's it like in the group chat? The commits all have a group chat. So the Georgia commits, they talk back and forth to each other. And he says that it came as an absolute surprise to those guys. Remember, KJ Bolden was, the Georgia coaches went to see Dylan Raiola. He convinced KJ Bolden to come over and hang out with them. He was very strongly recruiting Bolden to join the Georgia squad just recently. And so when all of a sudden Heap says, hey, look, I'm taking a trip to, I'm supposed to, report this weekend, but I'm actually going to take a trip out to Nebraska. There was a lot of questions in that group chat, and it caught those guys off guard. So that's kind of what it was like in that one. And I think that's it for our question. No, Coach, we got another question for you here from Croakstool. He says, does the recruiting drama ever have an impact on the locker room? Do the current players know what's happening on the recruiting trail?
Sure, they know. I mean, they take these guys out, and they kids come into the games and go in the locker room. They know everything that's going on.
Do you think it affects them? Does it? It's like, oh no, we lost this kid. Does it?
No, I don't think. I mean, they're too worried about their own NIL and everything else. I mean, they're trying to figure out where they're going to stick around.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting there. Last question. This one is more direct for you. How would Coach like to be the head coach of a college football team in this time of NIL and transfer portal?
I would love it. I mean, I miss it every day. I mean, that's just part of my DNA. I mean, you got to adjust. I mean, I had to learn how to the defensive backs one year when I was freshman coach. I had to learn how to switch from passing to wishbone. I mean, learn how to go from 85 scholarships to 64. Learn how to raise money for the weight room. I mean, you got to do it all. So I think it's just part of life. You got to work with it.
Question here: Did Tate Ratledge announce he was coming back? I haven't seen that.
Not that I know of, but I hope he does.
I haven't seen that. Yeah. Harry Redger says, "Is McConkey staying?" Do you think Ladd McConkey
I don't know,
sticks around?
but I'd be surprised if he does. But
yeah, we reported that. We reported that it appears that he is not sticking around another year. So that again, everybody can change their mind. It's not official until it's official. But I think if they were to get Tate Ratledge back, that would be gigantic. The last question in the comment section: what do you think this means for the whole KJ Bolden thing? Think it has any effect on him? Coach?
Yeah.
Do you think this has any effect on KJ Bolden's decision?
Not really. He's got his own deal. He'll do what he wants to.
Yeah, I didn't think this would affect him at all. Yes, I mean Rayola was recruiting him there, and with Rayola not joining, that might affect it. But I don't know that if
Maybe if
KJ was
Rayola goes to Nebraska, you'll call his name right. So we'll call him Rayola. That's why he's leaving. You never got his name right, Roddy.
it would be the first time.
Hey, that's good. But hey, that's it for me for today. I'm running out of juice everywhere.
All right, man. We'll talk to everybody later. Y'all take care. We'll see you next week.